As HR professionals, we are responsible for managing the employee's life cycle from onboarding to offboarding. But while we are so busy supporting employees, how can we support ourselves? When our careers plateau, how can we boost our marketability and stay relevant? The answer? HR Certified. Whether you are new in your HR career or an experienced vet, HR Certified is here to support your HR career goals by helping you navigate the certification process. Why certify? Passing the certification exam gives you instant credibility, respect in the workplace, as you immediately apply new skills, making you better at what you do. Upward mobility, by enhancing your earnings potential and career autonomy. We offer on-demand and fast-track certification test preparation courses. At HR Certified, we fully embrace our role in bridging the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Join over the 500 graduates before you. Take the next step in your career. Get HR Certified. To learn more, please visit www.gethrcertified.com.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday to you all. And thanks for joining HR Certified and this panel, and myself included, on a special session that we're hosting called Unlocking the Secrets of Passing the aPHR and SHRM-CP exams. I want to welcome you all and start off with brief introductions. But in the meantime, we would like to know, where are you joining us from? And what questions do you have that you're looking to have answered today? So here, I'm Anthony Howard. I am the founder, CEO of HR Certified, and I am joined on the stage with two team members of the HR Certified team. I have Dom Merritt and Chris Paul. And so first, I'm gonna go ahead and have Dom introduce himself, have Chris introduce himself, and then we'll get right into the discussion. Dom, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Dom Merritt. My pronouns are he, him. I have been in HR for about 16 plus years now. I've been really fortunate to work at some pretty cool companies, from super big multinational companies all the way to 25-person startups and everything in between. And I also teach HR at one of the universities here where I'm based in Chicago, Illinois. And when I'm not doing that, I'm helping Anthony, and I am an instructor in the aPHR course for HR Certified. So really excited to be here to answer all of the questions that you have, and hopefully get you motivated to click the link and sign up for our upcoming aPHR course.
Now, I'll tell you one thing is that he said a couple things here. First off, he's a facilitator, not an instructor. There's a big difference. There's a difference when you're being read something versus being involved in it, where at the end you feel like you're involved in it. It actually becomes your experience. And then the other is about clicking the link. Guys, there's a lot of information that we're going to cover today, and so we won't be able to cover everything in this 1 hour. So what we're going to do, we're going to send you the link. We're going to send you, or also a barcode, so that I know everybody got their phone to be able to scan it and be able to connect into other resources. And I see the chat blowing up. I see you, Latoya from Richmond, Dewana from Lawrenceville, Kenny, Nashville, Danielle Danali from in Georgia. Let us know where you're hailing from, and if some of those questions that we're going to go over today rings a bell with you, please let us know that too. All right, Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to us?
Hey guys, I'm Chris Paul. I am a HR recruiter for human resources here based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. I have 10 years of both HR and talent acquisition um, experience under my belt. I'm very passionate about people and human resources, talent acquisition. When I am not doing that, I'm helping Anthony P. Howard here with with HR certified and helping those who want to further themselves in the HR arena get their certifications and advance in their careers. And then hopefully even assisting them in getting placed inside some of their favorite companies. So that is me, and that is what I do.
Look, guys, I'm going to let you know. How many times have you seen three brothers represent HR in the same space? That you don't see that, right? You don't. Usually, if you think about the most quintessential HR person that's had an impact in your life, they do not look like us. But the reality is that our workforce is changing. Our demographics are changing. Our workforce is changing. And as a result of that, if HR serves as an example of our customers, of our employee base, of our demographics, we should reflect that. So I am actually honored to have these two gentlemen share the stage with me, with the common passion and purpose as all of you, which is how important HR is, right? So thanks, Dom. Thanks, Chris. And if I add my 20 years of experience, we got close to 100 years of experience that's going on right here on the stage here. Marcy, I see you. Akila, I see you. Chad, tuning in from Columbus. Let's go ahead and just dive into some of our conversations here. Again, why HR Certified exists, and our vision is that our ultimate vision is to increase diversity in corporate HR departments throughout the United States. And how do we do that? And why that is so important is because our belief is that with a diverse HR department, corporations are able to create greater work experiences for all. And the data has it is that diversity does equal into better results for the business. Now, certification, I think that's the common line on why everybody's here, right? Is learning or leaning in on the value of certification. And the reasons why people pursue certifications are different, right? It could be, hey, I just want to check the box, right? Or hey, I want to be more competitive out there. Why is certification important to you? Put it in the chat, and let me turn it over to Dom and Chris and get their perspective. Chris, why don't we start with you? What's the value of certification from your view, from your seat?
Yeah, absolutely. The value in certification when you are pivoting and you may find yourself on a career journey, is that it shows the company that you're invested. It shows your new network that you are, that you're fully invested, and that you have the knowledge to go forth and assist them in the HR department. And when I say that, what I mean is I'm seeing a lot more companies now have specifically in their requirements in HR certification, right? A degree is great. They love to see a degree, but they also like to see the certification. And when I ask them why, the reason typically is because they know that this person their certification is being renewed on some annual basis, right? So HR rules and legalities and laws, as we've seen all through COVID, have continuously changed. It's almost like a living thing now, right? I remember my earlier days in human resources, and it was really always the same thing. We always did the same thing. It was always the same rules. Nothing ever really changed. But now, you're seeing more DEI being implemented and being very important to the workforce, right? You're seeing attrition management being something that really needs to be tackled and handled. We're seeing the surge and rise of unions come back up, right? And so if you're someone who, you have this great degree in this work history and human resources, and now you're finding yourself on this journey with finding a new employer, or you've been laid off and you just haven't interviewed in a long time, it's very valuable to have, because it brings something in addition to the table. It shows that employer that, hey, I am fully invested in this and my knowledge is completely up to date. So no matter where you are right now currently, I can help you with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Chris, you said a whole bunch of nuggets there, right? There's a lot, and it is important for those of us who are looking to pivot, right? And most people in HR pivot. They pivot from somewhere else, right? And when you're trying to get in the door, one thing that is a requirement for a hiring manager is that they want to know that you're committed to this.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know not only that you're committed to it and that you're dedicated to it, but you also are, what Chris said, up to date about what's going on. And the other aspect that he threw in there, if you didn't notice, is that you can get up to date on the current trends. HR changes now. It is fluid, right? Like, look, unions are coming back, y'all, right? We got ChatGPT that's coming in here, right? AI, right? It's changing the face of what HR is expected to do, and to show up. And we need to show up differently. Otherwise, it's going to be very similar to what's going on. What's going to happen when we go through a drive-through? A robot is going to be making our hamburgers, right? And I say that in justice, that there are aspects of what we do, especially the manual stuff, that is going to be automated, and we need to show up different, right? So yeah, and they're looking for it, right? Okay, hopefully, Dom, we didn't take too much of your thunder. What's your thoughts on the value certification on your end from your
Yeah,
view?
how do you follow that? That was a very thorough value prop. But I think the other thing, if I can just sort of state that, it really gives you sort of a stamp of approval, right? Like, having a degree is one thing, but because you have to earn this certification, you have to, there's a body of knowledge that you have to show mastery in terms of your competency of it. That's the thing, as a career pivoter, that can make the difference between you getting the job and someone else, right? Because many times we know how to do the work, but we need to be given the opportunity to do the work, and having that certification shows that you know enough that you could potentially hit the ground running, and you just need to be given the opportunity. So that's sort of the only thing that I would add, is that it definitely can create an opportunity for you, because it proves, right, that you have the requisite knowledge. Even if you don't have the experience in doing it, you have the knowledge to understand it.
And this is the reality. You're going to learn through experience what this is all about. There's no standard operating procedure for HR, right? It is one that you really have to be able to flex and be dynamic to the situation and the resources that you're given to get the best results out there. So I put in a couple of highlights from out in the chat world. What's the value of certification to you? And it's personalized. And this is where a secret comes into passing the test, is that you have to have your goal in mind. You have to be it's not just about getting the questions right. You really have to have set a foundation based off of what is in it for you. What are you looking to get at the end of it, right? And there's a few things, right? The first one is, we talked about all of these things. They didn't look, Dom and Chris didn't know what I was going to put up here, but they talked about it already. It establishes credibility. It establishes credibility for not only you, but of the company. That's a hack, y'all, because this is what allows you to be able to get justification on why your company should support you in earning certification, right? And it recognizes your professional achievement, regardless of if you have done HR duties in another title, whether or not you've just obtained your degree, whether or not you're coming from another profession. you're being recognized for your achievement in it. Others is the more people that are every profession has a certification, right? Any professional um, uh, industry has that credential. It elevates the status of the profession by having it, and it allows you to be able to make a greater contribution to your company's success. I think that I know I can speak from experience, is that once I earned my certification, I had all these ideas and things that was in my head, just like, oh my goodness, there's so many things that one, we're probably doing wrong, or that we're not doing at all. And so that is actually pretty huge, because that can really supercharge your career regardless of where you're going. How can you utilize this thing in order to make a greater impact outside of just what's on the job description? I don't know if any of you want to add, had anything on this. Did that capture everything? Dom, I saw your head shaking.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'd add too, I saw this in the chat. Someone had mentioned if you're looking to advance from one aspect of HR to the other, the certification exposes you to the vast umbrella that is HR, right? A lot of people who's, making that pivot only think of HR as what you see in your current organization, right? Sort of the quote unquote no patrol, the people who tell you what you can and can't do. But when you understand that there are things like compensation management, talent development, organizational design, all of the things that are super important for someone who wants to advance within HR, being an HR leader, an HR business leader, you learn things that can help impact the business. So it's sort of, I remember when I got my certification many, 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 many years ago, it was sort of this.
Add one more minute to it.
It was the shift that we were seeing from sort of what was traditionally called personnel management, right, to human resource management, or now it's called like people management. And so it's more than just doing investigations. That's an important part of our job, but there's so many other aspects that you learn from this certification that will ultimately help you determine what path within HR you want to specialize in, right? So you can be a generalist, you can be a specialist. I'm fortunate that I've gotten to do a little bit of everything. And so that helps me in my job today as chief people officer, because I know enough about all of these various disciplines. And I'm really lucky to have a team of people who work with me who are specialists in those areas who can help execute on the day to day.
I was a benefits guy until I got certified. And then I was able to redeploy myself as a generalist. And then I moved to being a business partner. And then I moved into leadership. It goes that way. Chris, I think you have somewhat of a pivoting journey as it relates to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to add those people who aren't in HR, right? Those people who are non-traditional additions to the HR space. So getting your certification definitely exposes you to all of the vast things that are like what Dom said, is under the HR umbrella, right? I think when you come from that non-traditional space, I come from sales. So when you come from that non-traditional space, you almost just you see the parts of HR that are appealing to you, right? So if you see it as something that's, all cuddly and coddly, they're the people that I can go to when, I need any advice, or I need help with something, or a transition, or maybe I want to apply to a job. I want to see what's open. I need to talk to talent acquisition or a hiring manager, or you may see them as the people that, come down to and help you with progressive disciplines and legalities and laws. But once you get your certification and you go into that process, you really learn the individual components, like there's a space for benefits, there's a space for talent acquisition, there's a space for total rewards and payroll, and getting your certification, being non-traditional, really helps you with that, because when you're on a career journey or a transition, it helps you narrow down what you want to do. Because saying I'm in sales and I just want to join HR is very broad, but when you join, a certification program like HR Certified, and you join a community like HR Offline, it really helps you to put on your thinking hat and say, oh, okay, I see what it is. I want to be in talent acquisition. I really like sales and I like people. That's talent acquisition. I want to do talent acquisition. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's very important. You don't know what you know until you know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to get that extra exposure, and that actually was a bridge to our mission. I talked to you about our vision, which is to diversify the space, but how do we do it? And that's our mission. And our mission is that we unlock the highest level potential in HR professionals by providing professional coaching and community while earning certification. There's a lot of key words as it relates to it. When I went through this process, I didn't have any of that. All I had was the books, right? There was just a lot of intuitiveness that I just had to make but there was a lot of things I didn't know. Some of those things included HR is not HR everywhere. What do I mean by that? Companies deploy HR differently, which means that everything that we learn in these books that the organization may not be ready for, may not even want to do, right? I didn't know that. I took this and I said, oh my goodness, I got all these ideas. I got all these strategies. It's time to implement them all. No, that's not the way that works, right? The other aspect was I didn't have the experiences to benchmark the experiences I was getting from the book, the things that I could just theoretically envision in my mind. I was able to, through if I have a network or if I have a community, now I'm hearing how other companies, how other people, how like, for example, with Don being a facilitator, he's a chief people officer, right? So he gives a different perspective than maybe Chris will, being he was he was in the operations who we would support. So it's like there's different angles of this that enhances that aspect. And what better way to maximize your potential in HR than while you're studying across the whole entire body of knowledge of HR, right? So that's our mission, and that's how we do it. And you think, and I mentioned this before. I'm a Janet Jackson fan. Anybody that knows me knows I love Janet Jackson. And the reason why I bring her up is just think about the people who you admire the most, who are actually awesome. Now, Janet's not known for her singing, but she's known for her performances. She set the template for everybody. She didn't come out doing that. She got a coach. She got somebody mentoring. She got, right, we talking about Serena. We talking about anybody that's great. Sports stars, they all have coaches. How are they able to make it to that next level? Because they've been coached. And I've just been very fortunate and blessed to have had the opportunity of coaching and being able to have that as part of standard of coming with the masterclass. So this is the reason why we have not only a facilitator, but we also have a professional coach as a part of that process to activate that potential. Like, you know what? I can actually see how I can apply that, right? So let's go back to this exam for a second, y'all. This is the reality. And is that the exam is not easy, right? At all, right? And there are these stats. They're the stats, but there's some additional data points that you need to know that's behind them, right? The first one is that these stats are from the website. They're from HRCI. They're from SHRM as it relates to who passed, who passed, and who didn't. But what you don't get is the profile for the people who registered and who took the test, right? We got people who are various levels of preparedness, right? Or those that thought they had the experience with it because they've done it in their prior places and they're going here thinking, oh, I got this, right? There's a lot of things that's not here. You can't underestimate the exams, because it's not based off what you do. It's not based off how you've done it in your organizations. It's based off of best practice. And best practice may not be the practice that your organization needs to adopt, or it may not be the experiences that you're used to or accustomed to. Back to my original statement, HR is not HR everywhere. But as long as you have a baseline of that and can bring it to life and understand the aspects of this, these numbers won't matter anymore, right? I will say that the reason why, in particular, that I know that the percentages are so low for the senior level exam, because senior level people have a lot of experience did Dom say? A lot, a much. He got many, right? And so when you have that, you come in with a certain aspect of like, look, I got this. Like I know what this is all about. But you could be sadly mistaken if you go in with that assumption without becoming up to date on best practice.
Yeah,
So
Anthony, I think a way that I like to describe that, because I use this example quite a bit when I'm describing sort of my own career journey, is that when you've been in HR as long as we have, and you sit for your SPHR, for your SHRM-SCP, for example, by this point you've learned that HR is not black and white, right? It's
mhm,
very gray. And there are
mhm,
many, many, many ways that you can solve problems and challenges that are still very much legal.
that's right.
However, when you're going through these exams, you have to train your mind to think, okay, what is the ideal or preferred best practice way, right? So sort of the black and white way um, that you should be solving that particular question, not with what 20 years of experience has taught you.
That's right.
um, and the reason being is because you'll get to an exam question and you'll see it on each of these exams no matter which one you sit for, where there are four choices and all four of them are right. And all four of them are ways that you could solve or answer that question. But when you shift your mind to think about, okay, what is best practice? What is ideal? Then you can start to distill and, through process of elimination, obviously, eliminate the clearly wrong ones, but then you can distill down into which is the more right answer. And that's sort of, I think, of the biggest piece of advice for anyone who's thinking about taking these exams who has some exposure is be willing to, um, I don't want to say undo everything but but be willing to challenge your own assumptions and your own even knowledge of what you have, because there is a right way and a wrong way according to the test, but we know that, okay, well, I can get in the middle there, sort of come around this way, and legal will sign off on it. That is how you will not pass the exam, is if you're not willing to challenge your mind to rethink what is the best way. So that was the only thing I would add.
And Dom has just indicated a very small aspect of mindset that is incorporated in this. You really, truly, not only are being, taught the entire HR body of knowledge in that way, but you're also being taught mindset as it relates to the test, the level of test you're taking, and which test that you are sitting down for. Very important. Knowing the test is half the battle on this. Really, it is. And each of them test, you have to shift your mindset in a way for each one of these, like regardless of which ones you take here. So Chris, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say. What's your thoughts when you saw, I don't know if have you seen these rates?
I have, and it's because I take the in-person HR certified masterclass every Saturday morning. But yes, to Dom's point, one of the things that Anthony chimes on as a facilitator when he facilitates the course, because Anthony, you'll have Anthony as your teacher, or Dom, is that when you're looking at, we take practice tests. And as an adult learner, you grow to really appreciate a good practice test, because our brains are no longer wired to take a standardized test. I mean, I hadn't taken a practice exam or a standardized test in, like, I don't know, like maybe 5, 6, 7 years. You know what I mean? And some people that are on career journeys and pivots, it's been even longer than that. So I think the best advice that Anthony gives, and what helps me on those exams, in those practice exams, is that look for the most complete solution, the most complete answer when you're going to the table. And Dom was alluding to that as well. Like, it'll have, especially the SPHR course, the questions will have, they'll all look correct, but there's one in there that's the absolute most complete answer. But then there's always another one in there that's probably what you were doing, in your day to day, and that
Yep.
ain't even right.
That's it. That's it. Look, and that's it. It's just like, because sometimes, like HR people, we are strategy, but we're also tactical. We like to get it done. And there will be, if you are taking the SP, a senior level exam, and it's asking you about how to do this, and you just did this project this last week, you're going to you're going to think about that. But it's like, no, you remember, you're at the table, right? At a senior level, you're at the table with the CEO, with the VPs. Like, you can't come tactical. You got to come where it hits the bottom line, because that's the reality, right? Is the fact that our role is to reduce risk to the business and impact productivity through the most expensive asset that the company has, which is its people. That's the dark side of HR. That's the reality. And so, but that's the programming that you gotta have when you're answering these questions, and that does require you to rewire yourself when you're taking these tests. Thank you for that perspective on that. And there's somebody who was asking, hey, is this going to be recorded? It's going to be available offline? It sure will. So guys, this leads into our values. Every organization should have a vision statement on why they exist, how they do it, and values. Oh, and guess what? This is on the test too. It's on the test. Yeah, it is. And this is our values on how we operate. We want to provide you with a wow experience. I literally got an email this morning from someone who took a class in preparation for their SHRM-CP exam, spent $1,500 for it, and the only thing the instructor did was read the book to him. Oh my goodness! Like, that could be further away from not a return on investment. The reality is, as adult learners, we're working, we got lives and stuff that's going on, and we know HR by itself is like watching paint dry, right? It's not exciting. But if you incorporate a wow experience into it and get you engaged, and it's really a facilitation and not something that was just like, oh my goodness, okay, he told me a story. We got experiences. Oh, we're actually, what did Chris say? We're doing practice tests, right? We're making it. Now, you do have to read. Yeah, that part is clear. But when you have those opportunities, what brings it to life for adult people is applicability. How does this apply to my life? How can this help me get to my next step? It's about a wow experience. The next is accountability. Is that if you decide to invest in doing this, as long as you follow our process, we're accountable for your success. When people ask, well, what's your pass rate? And the response is, for us, is that as long as you follow the process, we will support you until you get those letters after your name. We're accountable for your success. There's a difference between a pass rate and a return on your investment, which is, hey, are you better positioned for that opportunity, for that promotion, to get into the profession, to get that networking, right? To be a redeployment, to be a leader of people. Or a return on investment is a higher level of evaluation of an investment than a pass fail, right? And then we're being bold meaning that, like, we're showing up different. How many people, when you ask them, what do you do for work in HR, and they say, oh, you work in HR, you hire, fire, and interview. Mm-hmm. They don't know about all this other stuff that we are involved in on a day-to-day basis, right? We're being bold to our vision and showing up differently, so that people will know, hey, you know what? If I'm at a high school career fair, imagine going to an HR career fair and you're teaching about social, you're managing your personal brand. And then afterwards, we showing up in these spaces as HR people. And at the end, they say, hey, I'd love to be your intern. This is a high schooler asking to be an intern. What? Like, that's bold in order to show up differently, to attract our next generation, because they don't understand us, to show up differently where people like you can still pursue this while life is still going on. to be able to make the content exciting, or to be able to have it engaging when you know it's dry as paint by itself if you're just reading it, and to have events like this where we're having just down to earth conversations about something that you probably been lurking, just peeping, trying to understand this to say, you know what, is it the right time? Is it, what's the best entry point? So these are our values, and our commitment is to our clients and to our customers, which is you. And we live these values to accomplish our mission, which we are pursuing to accomplish our vision. So what's in it for you? What's in it by getting the letters after your name, right? And there's a lot of things as it relates to that. I think we talked about this. It's a sense of personal satisfaction. A lot of people who pursue it on a senior level, it's like, I've always just wanted to do it. I just want to just get it done, right? The other is gives you a distinct advantage in the job market. The next is like that this professional development opportunity can never be taken away from you. It goes with you wherever you go, right? And then last but not least, it also increases your earnings potential and career trajectory because you're adding additional value that you didn't do before. People don't get promoted for being busy, y'all. People get promoted for having a greater level of impact that has them to be different than everybody else and at a higher level. And if you approach this learning opportunity in the right way, you're able to do just that. I'll just say, just an example for me was I was a benefits guy. Remember I told you that? I got certified. I pivoted and they put me in an HR specialist role. I made about $12,000 less than I did as a tenured benefits person. But I went in there and I unlocked the toolkit I learned from that certification process and developing a talent management program from scratch because of what I learned from that. I created an corporate HR business partner role, right? I went in there and I said, hey, this is my job, but this is what I did. Can we talk about it? And I said, either I'm going to get fired or I'm going to get promoted. And I got promoted. Yep. I had to prove it first. And I was able to use that strategy. I said, oh, this is a thing here. I'm able to show up. Now, was I busy? Of course. But I still had a higher level of impact. And that served and I proved myself. And that served as a higher level of impact to be able to, there was no posting for my job. I had to create it based off of my results. And I would have to have, if they didn't provide that opportunity to me, then I needed the coaching to be able to understand now it's time how to make my transition to utilize the skill sets I've learned and to get the value that I know comes along with that, right? What's in it for you? It's a whole bunch of things. Excuse me on this. So now look, the data has it. People who are certified in general make more money than the people who are not in this profession. The data has it. Does that apply to all scenarios? No, but to most. And this is an example of one that's out there. You can Google it out there. I know I could share that not only just me personally, but those that have come through this as well. So now we're on to the next question, y'all. HRCI and SHRM. Let's talk about it. Now, in the chat, I want you to put either one or two words. Is it HRCI and SHRM, the word and, or is it HRCI versus SHRM? Put VS in the chat. Is it HRCI and SHRM, or is it HRCI versus SHRM? And there's a lot of things as it relates to that. Put it in the chat. What's the first thing you thought about? Or like, hey, is it synergy there between it? What's the difference between the two? Which one should you pursue? When you think about that question, is it and, or is it versus, or is it or is it or? So let me go into just a couple of things as it relates to HRCI and SHRM. It used to just be HRCI, y'all, right? It used to be just HRCI. I'm seeing some stuff. I'm seeing some stuff in the chat. I see verses. I see a couple verses. I see an and. And then SHRM had a different approach as it relates to the testing. Did you know that HRCI used to be based where SHRM headquarters is? They used to be in the same building. Yep. And it was, and look, I could put it out there. It was a nasty divorce. It was nasty. You remember that, Dom?
I remember.
Back in the day, right? And it was so bad that the year that this all happened, HRCI could not attend the SHRM conference in Las Vegas. They had to go to a restaurant across the street. The reason why I'm bringing all of this up is it is a versus. They are competitors. That's the position that SHRM has with HRCI. Our position at HR Certified is that education is education, right? It doesn't matter. HRCI, SHRM, doesn't matter. And if there is a preference, it's political. It's political. Hey, well, I just grew up with SHRM. Oh, I just grew up with HRCI. But the reality is, how many spins can you put on HR? How many spins? Seriously, how many spins can you put on it? But you could put a different approach. You could put a different hat. You could put a different angle to HR. Very similar to what Dom had talked about. Y'all didn't think we was going to have this get real conversation. I need y'all to share out in these LinkedIn streets about what we're going on here. Share out there on LinkedIn and let them know we're having a get real conversation about this thing, because it's important. It's important as you're making a decision about this question. Which certification should you pursue? Okay. So there's HRCI and there's SHRM. Okay. And it is versus, and that's the reason why it is so confusing. Which one should I do? aPHR, SHRM-CP. Excuse me. Which one should I pursue? And knowing that their competition should also set the baseline on why there's so much smoke out here around it. And we're here to clear it up for you. Yeah, we are. Verses. I see a lot of verses. I see some ors. I see a few boths. And I want you to know that the majority of people who have SHRM certification next to their name were grandfathered in. We were grandfathered in. If we had our PHR or our SPHR and SHRM came out, we just had to do a couple steps and we added the additional letters after our name, which also lets you know that a good number of us that have it did not take this new test, right? A good number of us, we were grandfathered in because we had our HRCI thing already, okay? So the other is the testing viewpoints are different. HRCI is pretty practical. They get to the point, you choose one of four. SHRM is competency-based. It's based off the how. If you throw the scenario out there, what would you do based off of the competencies that have been identified as things that we need to pursue as a successful HR practitioner. So I think of HRCI as the what you do. And I think about SHRM as more on, they test on what too, but more on how. We're going to throw you in a situation and you tell me what's the best approach towards this scenario, right? Okay. So going back to which one should you pursue? The first one is which one you qualify for, right? There are different qualification levels for this thing, right? And we're going to go over that. And in particular, as it relates to aPHR and SHRM-CP. All right. Which one do you qualify for? The second one was, what's your tolerance for risk? The reason why I say that is you're investing, right? And you can come out at a loss if you don't approach it right, right? Like, look, you got to get materials. You got to sacrifice time. There's things that you got to do. There's our risk as it relates to the pursuit of whenever you invest into anything, right? And you saw those stats. The higher the level, the more the higher the risk, because the more you got to put into it to make sure you get that return. The next is, what kind of support you getting? Investments ain't free. This ain't donations, right? You gotta put up something for it. And for those of you who are gainfully employed, or seeing where your employer can help you, which is very fortunate, is that we've worked with many clients to be able to put their justification in place to have their employer pay for it. I know when Dom and I worked together, what did we do? We had our employer pay for it. But I would tell you, if they didn't pay for it, I probably wouldn't even be certified today. Okay, I wouldn't give them my little penny side. Look, I had rent to pay and everything else. But the answer is no, unless you ask, right? And you put up the business case for it. We can help you with all of those things. And when do you plan on taking the test? That's also important. With HRCI, you can take tests anytime. But for the SHRM, you got testing windows. And if you miss that window, you got to wait to the next testing window, right? So you got to apply and you got to take the test within certain windows. With HRCI, you can do it anytime. All right. So I know we talked about let's talk about the profile for individuals who take the aPHR. And this is so important because, again, your test is based off a profile. They have a profile before they put these test items together, right? So who is ideal for the aPHR? Recent college grads, right? They're looking to get into the HR space. People who are military personnel, they're looking to get into the private sector. This is important, y'all. HR and military is not HR and private sector. Those are two different things. They are. You may have the title, but they're different. I think Chad is in this in the chat. He was successful in redeploying himself into the private sector as a vet. The next is those that are looking to enter HR. We had talked about that. There's so many people that's in HR that came from somewhere else. I came from benefits. Before that, I was pursuing a teaching career. There's so many different professions. Those that are admins, those that are office support, individuals who've been managers in the past. I mean, there's all these profiles are ideal. Look, you could be a bus driver. You could be anybody. To be honest with you, with HR, you can do this. You just need the right knowledge. You need the right mentor. You need the right network to get into this thing. I'm a pause there. Oh, wait a minute. No, let me do this last one. Oh, and then also, if you're a manager or you have people, look, you're the HR department of one, you need to know this. You need to know this stuff. So I'm gonna pause this for a second. Dom, I saw your head shaking as it relates to these profiles. What you got to add to this?
No, I think you covered it all. I think this is the sort of the best place to enter for someone who's looking to make a career pivot, because this is going to give you that sort of immediate stamp of approval and credibility that you understand the basic competencies and blocking and tackling of HR. And this can potentially give you the opportunity to be able to show what you've learned. So this is I remember there was a time when this particular designation didn't exist. It was just the PHR and the SPHR. And there was always this need or this ask of people who were just getting out of school or making career pivots. Well, what can I do because I don't qualify for the PHR exam? And a few years later, they came out with the aPHR, and it is just such a great way for people to explore and sort of commit. Like, okay, you know what? Yes, this is what I want to do with this new phase of my career. So, yeah, that's what I would add.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I would add as well, when you are looking at which certification to get, don't put so much pressure on yourself with deciding which certification to get. Don't let that enter into your mind when you're deciding if you should get your aPHR, your PHR, your SPHR, because I can tell you that companies that I run across that it's a requirement or it's highly recommended for me to send them candidates that have an HR certification. They're not really specific about which certification you need to have. They just want to know that you're certified and that you're committed to this job, to human resources, and and enriching yourself with continuous knowledge of it. So don't get too stressed when it comes to, don't take an SPHR exam and you on a PHR level, because then you may be setting yourself up.
And so let's talk about these profiles, because remember, guys, what you're eligible for is based off your profile. So I know there's a lot of things that I'm just showing here right now, but I'm showing all of the designations for HRCI, and in particular one that I would just want to zoom in on is the aPHR, right? For the aPHR, you just need a high school diploma. You don't need any HR experience, but there is a particular profile that's being tested. And that is focused on people who are just beginning their journey. And it's a knowledge-based credential. It's not based off of experience, right? It's fundamental HR knowledge is what you're being tested on. But it's across the entire domain, including the business acumen, talent acquisition, talent management. We're talking about comp and benefits. We're talking about labor relations. We're talking about employee relations, like all of those domains. And from an HR practitioner perspective, in that language where you can show up at the table and add value to it. All the other designations, the PHR and SPHR, it requires a combination of experience and education, and it still has a different profile. I'm just leaning in on aPHR right now because that's what this is about. I want to go to the SHRM-CP just for a second. So the SHRM-CP exam and eligibility requirements changed. Okay, so in January of 2022. The SHRM-CP eligibility changed from having a requirement of education and or experience to be very similar to the aPHR. The requirements for the SHRM-CP now is that you don't need a degree. But it is, and if you remember my descriptor, it's about the how part of the job. They're going to put you in situations and you're going to be tested about what you should do. So because of that, you do have to have some basic working knowledge of HR practices. Like you have to have an internship, or maybe you have an HR degree as it relates to it. You got to have some fundamental exposure to it in order to really, really be successful in this, even though education and experience in HR necessarily isn't required. But the SHRM is also based off you being a tactician or a person that's actually doing the work, right? You're implementing new hire orientation, right? You're making sure that things are going on time. You're supporting the HR department versus the company as a whole. And that what you're doing is making sure that you have knowledge of that HR handbook, those policies, those procedures, all those things to make sure that the employee life cycle is supported from an HR perspective. So that's what, and you might ask, well, why do they do that? Well, I mean, look, it's competition, y'all, right? And so as a result of that, adjusting this, now they are in the same playing field as the aPHR. But even though they're still in the same playing field, they're still different. There's still a different profile that's ideal for SHRM-CP versus the aPHR. Okay. So the question is, are you prepared? Right? Are you prepared for this? And so we are offering, let me go ahead and fast forward this, is that what we provide in our masterclass is a proven study plan that will ensure your success. comprehensive success, not just for the exam, but also in your career. We establish baseline through pre-tests. We go through content. We have live reviews, and then you have assessments to see where you are. And we do that from week to week until the end. And where coaching comes in is that you got test coach automatically, but like you may need assistance with your branding right out here in these LinkedIn streets, right? If you're currently a practitioner, how can we upgrade you? Or maybe you're a senior level practitioner or leader already, and we can help coach as it relates to that as well. Now, this is you don't get all of these, right? But these are the types of coaching services that are bundled into our master classes. Now, next thing I just wanted to talk about is we also offer scholarships, y'all. And what we're going to be doing, and I want to congratulate Ashley Wilson. She was our first scholarship winner. She earned her aPHR. She's currently on LinkedIn. You can connect with her. And what we're doing is in advance of our upcoming associate masterclass, we are actually going to extend the opportunity for application to the scholarship. And so I'm going to put a QR code out here right now. It's called our HR Certified No Barrier Scholarship. And so if you are high potential or you know of high potential that would be eligible for the aPHR, and the only thing that's stopping them is financial barriers, have them apply. We're actually going based off our enrollments for our masterclass, because based off our enrollments for our HR masterclass, a part of the HR masterclass enrollment fee is that that's how we support these scholarships for the associate HR masterclass. So we're extending the deadline for this until until it says 5/9, but it's really 5/10. It's actually on this upcoming Wednesday. You will need to complete this along with a letter of recommendation attesting to your potential. And we'll make the announcement this week, and they'll whoever these individuals are will be a part of our next class, our associate HR masterclass, and everything is covered. Your materials, your costs into the course. We want to be able to reduce the barriers of access. And if you can, please go ahead and congratulate Ashley for obtaining her certification and being our first winner there. The next last thing that we want to be able to show, am I still showing that, is how you can enroll in our masterclass, our associate masterclass. Dom is going to be the instructor, and I will be the coach, and then Chris will also be in orbit in our community, and our community is called HR Offline, and this is where for those of you who are non-traditional profiles, and you're just like, who do I talk to? Who do I connect to? How do I get these resources so I can be able to, navigate and succeed in this space? We're here for you, right? So, and we have events that's only available there as well. We would love to join. So make certain that if you could benefit from that or share it, you can do that as well. I wanted to be able to show all of these things to everybody before stopping us for today. We're right at the hour. I just wanted to Dom, Chris, did you want to say just a quick thing? How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, just Dom Merritt on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with anyone and answer any questions that you might have, and hopefully see you all in the class.
Thank you, Dom. Chris, any parting words?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish you all great success in your career pivots and HR journeys. If you do want to get in contact with me, you can find me in these LinkedIn streets. My LinkedIn is attached to this video as a participant. So you can find me there when I do get HR positions in the Atlanta, Georgia, and greater Atlanta markets. I do post them in the HR offline community. So if you join there, you'll be the first to see them. You'll be the very first people to see them. And I have some great ones that are currently looking for some talent. But yeah, definitely hit me up on LinkedIn, direct message me. It pings on everything, and I'll respond as soon as I can.
Well, and for all of you who are watching this, you're watching it from my page, so we're already connected. We're already on LinkedIn. Keep up with us by using our link tree. Guys, Dom, Chris, thank you so much for joining me here on stage, and I look forward to seeing you out on these LinkedIn streets.
Oh,
Have a good
Anthony,
afternoon. Oh
Anthony,
yeah,
can
yeah,
you
yeah.
post maybe, because some people are saying that they can't see because they couldn't see the QR, Latoya, because she was on her phone. Can you tell them where they can find that information?
Yeah, we are actually going to give the actual web links in the comment section in this meeting. So Ira, who is our social media coordinator, will make sure that they're there, and you can just reach out to us, and we'll give it to you that way as well. Thanks for that lookout for that, and thank you all for attending this afternoon. Happy Monday! Is that a thing? We're going to make it that way. All right. See you soon, everyone.
Bye.